and I feel really grateful and very humbled. I have been quietly making drawings, paintings, sculptures, and all kinds of art for my whole life. And yet I am only now arrived at the point of my first solo exhibit. Wow. So what do I want to say to all of you? What shall I tell you about my art? The question for me is, what do I want you to know about me and what is behind my art? What is the essence of this substance behind the images you see? To answer these questions, I must go back to my earliest of cognitive memories. I think it's fairly obvious as you look at my works that I am drawn to rendering landscape and that I am inspired by the natural world. That's a no-brainer. As a child growing up in a small rural borough in Pennsylvania known as Chalfont, my siblings and I enjoyed the blissful freedom of exploring all the fields, woods, creeks, farmland, and alleyways that surrounded our home. Our parents bought this home in 1960 and proceeded to tend and landscape the yard and gardens with great feeling and aesthetic grace. They possess a deep love for and an appreciation of all things that grew. Shrubs, flowering trees, rose bushes were prominent in their joint musings. I can recall their dialogues regarding the planting of dogwoods, the Japanese red maple, the sweet gum tree, and the clematis vine. That's how they said clematis. Clematis vine that graced the corner of the garage. It never ceased to bloom, and it was the most amazing deep purple. I have yet to be able to grow a clematis. I didn't get that. They shared love and pleasure of the world of plants. Their shared love and pleasure of the world of plants was contagious and did not escape the attention of our young hearts and souls. There were many hiding places and places of rest among all that grew in and around the house. Looking out the western window of my childhood bedroom, my eyes beheld the cornfields of Mr. Moyer's farm, the huge red barn and all its many outbuildings, sheep in the pasture and cows grazing just close enough for a young child's hand reaching out with a handful of fresh green grass. This open expanse of land and creatures invited the imagination and provided endless shapes and colors and scents for the young mind to feed upon. As early as I can remember, I looked out at these rich and vibrant surroundings with quiet wonder and thought about how I would draw or paint what I saw. Throughout the grade school years, I would live for Friday afternoon, when all the academics were put away to be replaced by the art project of the week. By the time I got to high school and could choose an area of study to focus upon, I became a fine art major and gloried in 2 double periods of art every week for 3 years. My beloved and bedeviling teacher was phenomenal for the wealth of experiences she provided. And when it came time to go on to college, of course, I was going to art school. Of course. And I did. I moved from Pennsylvania to Boston, where I attended a small junior college. I lived the college life with gusto and enjoyed the freedom of youth and experiences of the times. Rock concerts, nightlife, and the excitement of the big city. Cultural discoveries, making new friends. I met and married my sweetheart and began a new life, that of wife, homemaker, mother, and artist, in that order. And so for 25 years together, we created and nurtured our growing family. And although there was not a lot of time for making art, there was always time for creativity. Making a beautiful, warm, and colorful home became my outlet for artistic expression. Whether I was painting out a room, or making costumes or curtains, decorating for a holiday, or creating a flower garden, the myriad of ways to express myself were soul-stirring on behalf of my family. I did so with the wholehearted desire to give them something of what I had received from my parents, and always fueled by love. When, though, at times, I became frustrated and bored by the challenge of life and the day-to-day routines that all mothers experience, I would turn inward to the ideas for paintings that lived inside me, and they grew and found places to hide out until that day when they could come out from hiding and spill out onto the paper or canvas that awaited them. Still, even before that time came, there was another chapter, a period of about 15 to 20 years, where my talents were now directed into painting and decorating for others in their homes. Bringing my design ideas and knowledge and love of color to others became an amazing, rewarding experience of sharing and expanding into my community. By the time the new millennium came about, I was really enjoying the diversity of my work, alongside of home life, children, and grandchildren. Then came September 2014. Life was turned on its head as the family experienced the horrific nightmare of losing a child. Everything changed irrevocably when our son and daughter-in-law lost their beautiful 11-month-old son in a tragic freak accident. As we all grappled to deal with his loss and the devastating grief of losing Henry, days, weeks, and months passed on in their order. But life took on a very dark and different atmosphere. My creativity, what there was of it, went into a holding pattern, holding life together. Oh, my husband. Ooh, breathe. Oh my goodness. All our children, and most importantly for our son and his wife. Not a single day passed that I did not pray for healing and peace. By 2016, I knew I had to leave the safety and sanctuary of our home and somehow get back into life. I began by volunteering in the community at the local art program for the intellectually disabled. Working with the staff and artists of Spindleworks eventually effected a great shift within me. And I realized once again the power of creativity and artistic activity to transform not only my world, but the worlds of the people I served. That same year, it became crystal clear to me that I could no longer wait for that magical day when I would finally be able to get to the hidden treasures of ideas for paintings that were inside me. If I were going to honor that which existed within, to honor the lives of my children and grandchildren and the memory of Henry, I had to do it with my whole heart. I had to do it with abandon. I had to do it trusting that if I leapt off the cliff and poured myself into bringing forth what was wanting to be expressed, that I would be held, carried, and protected by the invisible forces, guides, and angels that have accompanied me my entire life. Along with our older daughter, I took a chance on a studio space where I could draw and paint and generally noodle around with whatever called to me, to dream new, to play, without interruption or distraction. I have showed up to my process with regular disciplined dedication every week for the last 8 years. And with God's help and the love and support of family and friends, I'm now here. Leaning into my creativity has been richly rewarding and powerful beyond measure. And as I offer some of the results of my meanderings, my efforts to convey my interpretation of the beauty I experience when looking out at the world around me. I've been blessed with many wonderful teachers and have pursued continuing education in my craft all my life. I have followed my musings with curiosity and always with a beginner's mind. On the wall in my studio, I have a quote from one of my favorite writers, the poet, philosopher, and artist, Khalil Gibran. His life of creativity has greatly enriched the world over the decades and inspired an elevated consciousness to come into being through words and images. And on that subject of art, he wrote, "Art arises when the secret vision of the artist and the manifestation of nature agree to make new shapes." I thank you all again for coming today and sharing your time and energy with me. I thank the good folks of the library who offer this space on behalf of the community. I thank the lovely people at Just Framing for working with me so generously over the years. And I thank my family and friends who have encouraged and supported me on this path for a long time. I give thanks to the Creator for life, love, beauty, and quiet wonder.